Caution. My name is Ryan O'Donnell. I graduated from one of Dayton's top communication schools with really good grades. Now, I'm using my knowledge to help struggling, small, I don't want to say losers. No. They're winners in my heart. But yes, this is the No Spin Zone, home of the O'Donnell Factor. Usually, this source for all things Hollywood and hoops, but today we're going to do things a little bit differently. Last week you saw us do the Kanye West special. Well, now, as someone who browsed a lot of Wikipedia growing up, because I was not very good at sports growing up, I'm going to talk about all the weirdest and wackiest Wikipedia articles that we can find. And by we, I mean me and my buddies here.
Hey everyone, my name's Danny. Pretty excited to get into some of these wacky Wikipedia articles.
Yeah, last name, Danny?
Linz.
And I'm Eric Polino. I've been listening since '06, and I'm very happy that I'm now finally on the show and cannot wait to browse some Wikipedia articles.
I was still in diapers, I'm pretty sure, in '06. Actually, no, I would have been like 5 years old. I hope I wasn't in diapers.
So you still were in diapers?
Probably. Yeah. I quit potty training, 14 months ago. Just kidding, I was 12 years old. Anyway, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Speaking of potty training, let's talk about one of the most infamous cases that the Colorado Springs Police Department has ever uncovered. A real whodunit, if you will.
Very much so.
So in July 2017, Kathy Budd was told by her children, "There's a lady taking a poop outside," which I want to single that out really quickly. I just think it's funny how funnily kids word stuff, like taking a poop. Nowadays you might just say pooping or taking a dump or even something we can't repeat on air. But taking a poop is... I'm going to bring that back. Let's bring that back.
For sure. I definitely agree, though. Kids word things in very weird ways.
They do. Sometimes they just don't know what to say, but we love the kids. We love the kids. So Bud notified the CSPD I'm missing a part of the story. Initially, when the lady was caught, she pulled up her pants, said sorry, and continued running away from the scene. But this would happen every day for a matter of like a couple of months.
Yeah, here we got repeatedly defecating in public while jogging. Unidentified woman currently, was unidentified. They got her now, but yeah, they got some good pictures of her. Looks like she was sometimes you've got to go, you got to go.
Exactly.
She didn't enjoy the go. No Charmin, shout out Charmin. We know you're listening. We love the sponsorship. But anyways.
Well, I don't like those commercials where the polar bears are dancing with toilet paper on their butts. Those are gross. Why have those been on for so long?
Too long.
No, those are disturbing.
Those are weird.
So this was the same lady every day for months?
Yes.
Pooping in the same person's yard?
Exactly. And that leads me to my next question. Why do you think she chose the same location?
A form of revenge, maybe? Did she have a vendetta against these people?
it was the people who caught her, so I would assume so. And I don't know. Who knows if she did it in other areas before she was caught by Kathy Budd the first time. I do know that, according to Kathy Budd, there are several public bathrooms nearby that she could have used instead of using this person's yard. So,
It's definitely interesting.
it's really...
I mean, as a runner, a lot of people take the same routes. I don't like to switch up routes. So I wonder if she just had the same route and at the same time, like the routine just got to her and she
just got
gotta
into
go.
a personal routine just stopping there every day.
Other possible motives that have been suggested, I believe this one was in Psychology Today, was that she suffers from Crohn's disease. And that's a disease where, correct me if I'm wrong, I was always under the impression that was a disease where you ate, like I know someone who had Crohn's disease and they lost a lot of weight because they weren't eating as much.
I'm not qualified to talk about the medical side of it, but...
Yeah. Well, neither is Joe Rogan. That never stops him, so...
That's fair.
Yeah, I didn't know what Crohn's disease was either, but apparently Procter & Gamble offered a free year supply of Charmin to her for her incidents, which, I mean, I don't know.
If she turned herself in, that was the stipulation.
As a way of saying, please stop pooping in this poor lady's yard.
Exactly.
But what about after, and you have to continue the run? I feel like that would be a very unenjoyable run from that point on.
I'm not sure. I really don't know. One thing, going down the rabbit hole in this one, which I did for this article more than any of the other ones we read, was other instances. Well, runner's diarrhea is a case where typically that's tied to a disease with blood tissue. I can't remember the name of it. It never lasts for more than a day. But in notable instances of it, Katharina McKiernan won the 1998 London Marathon while repeatedly pooping herself during the race. She won the whole thing. Came in first. And this happened again with Paula Radcliffe in 2005 in the same marathon.
Really? And you said this, what did you say, runner's diarrhea is what
That's
it's
the
called?
name of the, yeah.
So,
I'm not sure if this is what the Mad Pooper, as the media dubbed her.
But you said this
Suffering
only
from.
lasts for one day, but this was going on for months. The
Yeah.
Mad Pooper was.
The Mad Pooper was pooping for months, madly.
Madly. So it doesn't seem like it would be a case of the runner's diarrhea if that's just a day-long thing.
I'm not sure, but
Could.
yeah. But another thing I want to point out was in other similar cases, there was a man named Gerard Finneran who was on a United Airlines flight and pooped on the was it the alcohol cart or the food cart?
United Airlines Flight 976.
Yes.
Yes.
It's hardly the craziest thing to happen on a United Airlines flight, I must add.
No, definitely not. But it looks like he was also suffering from traveler's diarrhea. So you never know. Maybe.
Well, that's different from runner's diarrhea.
It is. Similar concept, I assume.
I would imagine. I imagine traveler's diarrhea is tied to jet lag or whatever. So, but it sounds like this Gerard guy just needs to quit acting like his crap doesn't stink.
Yeah, it looks like he tracked his excrement through the cabin and wiped it on the walls of the plane. Hopefully it was not a long flight.
I did see that David Letterman, when reading more about it, David Letterman had a field day with that story for weeks.
I never caught that, but I feel like that would be a great episode, or I guess if it went on for weeks, a great series to watch.
But so Gerard obviously was caught. I'm not sure what criminal charge. I believe he had to pay like probably like a $50,000 fine.
Yeah, it says $50,000 here.
Okay. In two other instances, one also in the United Kingdom, there was a woman who pooped outside of a Narang's News and Booze store, is the name of the store, and was nicknamed by the media the Star Jumper because she did jumping jacks right after. In the United Kingdom, they called them star jumps, which I didn't really realize, and makes sense because you're in the motion of a star.
They have a lot of different names for things in the UK.
They called I don't know off the top of my head. I know they call ding dong ditching something different, and if as soon as I hear it, I'll cringe. I might scream. Warning in advance to any headphone users. Can you remind me what it is?
It looks to be Knock Knock Ginger.
Knock knock. I thought it was Nick and Knack something. There's a bunch of different.
Nick and Ann Night is another one.
Okay, I actually kind of like that one. Nick at Night.
Nick at Night, great television.
Yeah.
Quality.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Great show.
Awesome show. But okay, so the Star Jumper, and then there was another woman in Lincoln, Nebraska, who pooped outside of a swimming pool. Neither of these two women were ever identified.
Yeah.
So
How are you not identifying that?
Well, that's why is it that the women are not getting identified? How are the women getting away with it, is what I want to know. The men, all the male cases of incidents like this.
And it says she was caught on camera outside the local swimming pool, so you'd think you'd be able to identify them. If it's that, I feel like that's a pretty big problem.
I mean, they got pictures of the Mad Pooper, and nothing ever came from that. So I don't know.
Very true. I guess they just got bigger things on their hands, but...
To me, the most interesting part is that there's a whole Wikipedia page just dedicated to these different cases of people pooping in random places.
I mean, if somebody poops in a public place, you're going to remember it. You're going to want to document it, I feel like.
Shout out Wikipedia and whoever wrote this.
Yeah.
Really great content.
Great content. We should just use Wikipedia instead. We should boycott textbooks. Can we just go back to using Wikipedia?
Speaking of textbooks, why is Wikipedia not an acceptable source for my papers?
Well, anyone can go on there and edit anything, but you got to go and check the references at the bottom. That's where that's a little cheat code for school. I've always used to my benefit. Before we move on to the next topic, one more thing about the Mad Pooper. Well, what big takeaways do you guys have from this story? I mean, what were your thoughts reading this?
Got anything, Eric?
I would say just use the restroom before you go on a run.
Fair.
I mean, to me, it just seems like no one really knows why this lady was doing this. It just seems like kind of a cold case, but it'd be interesting to get to the bottom of it.
It's a shame she's still wanted by the Colorado Springs Police Department.
Yeah. I'm all out of poop puns, unfortunately. But one thing I really noticed, I told you guys about the two incidents of the London Marathon, and there was the spot in Newcastle, United Kingdom, which is a different city in the United Kingdom. But I was reading articles from The Guardian, The Washington Post from a couple of years ago that lamented the lack of public toilets in the city of London.
Interesting.
And there was two brothers, I believe, created a startup app called Locations, specific to London, where you could find public toilets to use in the city of London.
Another incident of different wording that they use, a loo.
Loo. That's a good one.
Locations. Very, very smart name for the app. Is that only a UK app, or can we...
I believe it's only UK.
Okay.
I believe it's specifically London, but I could be wrong. But I always thought they used bidets over there.
I don't understand why we don't adopt bidets here. I think it's a lot more cleanly version of our sanitary habits.
I think those things are disgusting. I don't want water to jet up my butthole. Like that would just be that would hurt more than the sandpaper toilet paper I already use.
So bidets, actually, I have
Poop
used,
is funny. I need that.
It is great. I have been a frequent flyer of a bidet in Europe, and I think it is actually a great experience.
Really?
I think
Okay.
everyone should try it once in their life before they die.
Okay.
Next item.
I'm never gonna. Well, this is more Australia, but you can never get me used to driving on the wrong side of the road, though. I mean,
That is true. Very true.
Well, to them, it's the right side of the road. It's just a matter of perspective.
fair. I mean, it's right until they run over a kangaroo or something.
Yeah, true.
So speaking of giant pieces of crap, let's talk about Barney the purple dinosaur. So Wikipedia has an entire article dedicated to anti-Barney humor, and we were all in the first grade. If you're under the age of 35, I'll say, and you were in the first grade once, you've heard some of these jokes. Twinkle twinkle little star, Barney's rated R. Barney got canceled because he cursed live on air. Some of those crazy conspiracy theories. Here's the most interesting one, and the source of this joke I forgot to write down. If one of you guys can pull it up, but it's insinuating that Barney is equal to the number 666, the number of the beast, Satan himself. The reasoning behind this is that Barney is a cute purple dinosaur, and if you spell it in the Latin if you spell that phrase with the Latin alphabet, you use a V instead of a U, so that goes to cute purple dinosaur. And if you take out anything that doesn't represent a Roman numeral, you have left CVVLDIB. You add those numbers. 100 plus 5 plus 5 plus 50 plus 500 plus 1 plus 5 equals 666. Now, obviously, these people, whoever had the time to come up with this needs a hobby or a girlfriend, clearly. Even though it's funny. They weren't, like we talked about last week, you playing songs backwards, you hear some satanic message. Obviously, that's not what they were going for with this. This is just something tongue-in-cheek that's not meant to be anything besides lighthearted. It also works with the phrase, lovable purple dinosaur with that. But, let me ask you, what are your general thoughts on the television show Barney? Why do you think it's so hated?
Not a lot of revelation behind Barney.
I was
But
going to say I don't have too many memories of it, but from what I can remember, it was just a lighthearted show about a purple dinosaur. I never remembered anything satanic or anything like that about it.
it looks like we're getting this from one of the sources, CRC Press, a writer for the CRC Press, which seems to be a pretty notable source. Had to have done the research on this. There has to be some correlation.
Between Barney and 666?
There's no denying it. CRC Press is on it. There's no denying it.
How does someone even figure that out?
Again, clearly they don't have a girlfriend or a hobby.
Got too much time on their hands.
Yeah, but I would say it is interesting that you bring up. I guess Barney was more of a 90s. I guess it was a little bit before our time.
Definitely.
It was 90s was when you couldn't get away from the guy. But I get where a lot of the criticism is coming from for Barney. I really do. It's one of those it's the kind of show that the people in mind made just thinking that kids would watch anything. I think kids are smarter than we give them credit for. I think you can teach very valuable life lessons to kids in programming, without dumbing it down. There was a great Sesame Street episode way back in the day where Mr. Hooper, the actor who played the general store owner on Sesame Street, died. And they thought about just recasting him, having him played by a different actor. They said, we're going to address this. And they basically explained to Big Bird the concept of death. And that's a hard thing to teach kids, but it's something at some point we need to do.
Definitely. It looks like Barney got 14 seasons, including Barney and Friends.
Well, yeah, there's no denying Barney's commercial success, but it's critical. TV Guide named it one of the 50 worst shows of all time.
I'm only seeing 3.9 out of 10 out of IMDb, so
3.9.
that's pretty low.
That is
That's
low.
pretty low.
Still higher than Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, the Christmas masterpiece. Is it higher or lower than Cats?
Oh, I personally
We're
would
gonna
have to
go
say
lower.
than Cats.
I know Cat's got awful reviews, but it's hard to believe it says low as a 3.9.
Let's see here. Well, IMDb 1998 Cats.
No, 2019. One with Rebel Wilson and Taylor Swift.
Okay, because 1998 Cats is 7.4 out of 10, but 2019 Cats we're looking at a mere score of 4.8, a little better.
Okay, so better than Barney. Well, also, I get that he's a dinosaur from your imagination. That's what they say in the theme song. But I can't imagine like parents are okay with, which I didn't realize that until I read more about this. I always kind of I guess I forgot that he was in the kids' minds. But yeah, and that makes sense considering what parent is going to drop their kids off for 3 hours or an entire day with a giant anthropomorphic dinosaur
And the more you look at him, the creepier he gets.
I was gonna say he's always smiling. That's weird.
How does he eat? Well, the question: how does he chew?
You're bringing up some good questions right now. What's up?
So I was just wondering, why is it specifically Barney that there's this whole subgenre of anti-Barney humor? Why Barney as opposed to Peppa Pig or Elmo or just...
Well, Peppa Pig has got, you see some of that. One that you definitely see a lot of backlash against is, I would say, Caillou.
Caillou, definitely.
That's even more recently. I know Family Guy's made jokes about Caillou. John Oliver.
Family Guy jokes about Caillou, yeah.
John Oliver has a couple of hilarious ones. Dora the Explorer being another one that's just like a punching bag for shows aimed at older people. One thing I want to add, actually, I forgot to mention this. The most actually interesting thing I found out about Barney. You know what channel it originally aired on? Because it wasn't PBS.
That would have been my guess.
It was the Disney Channel.
Really?
It started out as a series of 6 home videos that were. It was local. It was a big local hit in Dallas, but they aired on Disney Channel as part of a music or a programming block called Lunchbox. It's interesting to think what if Barney stuck on the Disney Channel, because at some point he would have had that wand in his hand. He would have said, "I'm Barney, you watch the Disney Channel," and it would have been the most ambitious crossover event since Infinity War. Sorry, you were saying. And
we all know Disney Channel's notorious for turning kids into absolute maniacs.
Oh yeah, of course.
So what would have happened to Barney? Would it have been worse?
I don't know. Well, yeah. Would the show just have become like Jurassic Park or something? Because I would have watched it then.
That would have been great.
I think to answer your question, I'm sorry. A big reason behind I think the backlash too was that, like I was saying, it's too sugary. It's too saccharine. I didn't remember this. I read about this, but there are episodes of instances where the kids, I call them kids, they're preteens, which again, yeah, they're like 13-year-olds playing 5-year-olds. They go the dazed and confused route with it. It's kind of weird. There'll be instances of these kids lying or cheating or stealing, and instead of getting punished for it or even reprimanded, Barney, brings them in and gives the whole "I love you" spiel.
So it's almost too one-dimensional.
Way too one-dimensional.
Okay.
I would say.
That makes sense.
Another thing two more things. There's a legend on the internet, which was debunked by Snopes, but that Barney was based on a 1930s serial killer named Barney who would dress in a dinosaur costume, go to the park, and lure kids away from their parents. Of course, yeah.
That's something we need to dig into. I think there's something there.
I don't think. Look around if you want. There's also the theory that the actor who played Barney hid cocaine in his tail. When we hear stuff like this for every kid show. Mr. Rogers was a Vietnam War veteran, and he wore the sweater to cover up the tattoos.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Mr. Rogers, another great program. He did an episode about the Cold War and the effects it had on families.
Really?
So all these children's shows just have a random dark episode thrown in there.
It gets it into the kids' minds. Arthur had a great episode. I remember watching this when I was a kid. There was a fire at their school, and the whole thing was an allegory for 9/11 and just how people dealt with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, is that just fan theory, or is that
No,
confirmed?
it was pretty. They kept referring to April 9th throughout the episode. It's pretty clear that it was supposed to represent. Obviously, it wasn't anywhere near his death. No one died. No. There weren't any terrorists, or since there's bears in the Arthur universe, I wonder if you could call them bearists.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So yeah, last thing about Barney before we move on. Also, the creators were just had sticks up their butts. They could because Barney was being parodied by everything. Saturday Night Live had when Charles Barkley hosted. He recreated the Godzilla commercial where he played Barney. The Simpsons, Family Guy, you name it, the show was making jokes about it. The creators, Lions Entertainment, were suing everyone left and right up the wazoo because they just didn't want anyone to parody the dinosaur. There was San Diego Chicken had some skits where he beat up a character that was supposed to resemble Barney. And it's funny, in court, the portrayer Ted Yianlis, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, referred to Barney as a pot-bellied, sloppily fat dinosaur who giggles compulsively in a tone of unequaled feeble-mindedness. It is funny to think that a children's character could rile up this much hate in people. But
it also begs the question, who else is watching this? Because if it's just children watching it, I feel like I personally would have never thought of all these scenarios in order to bring up hate for Barney. I mean, we gotta have some adult audience there watching this and criticizing this.
Unless it's just the children that grow up and realize that.
That's fair.
that's part of it. I think, it is a deal where, like, we're in first grade. We don't like Barney anymore. It's that. But, as a parent, you have to watch all the shows with your kid. And think about it, it's become commercialized. You got your Barney movies. You got your Barney shows on ice, your live shows. All those kid shows I know had stuff like that.
Shout out shows on ice. It's gotta be hard in the costume.
It's
Can't
got to
be
be.
easy.
The costume in general has to be hard. I know that thing would get hot on a summer day. But any last thoughts on Barney before we move on?
Great guy.
Great guy.
I've got nothing. I was just gonna. You already touched on it a little bit. The Charles Barkley skit on SNL.
That's a funny.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny.
My last thing. Well, shout out to Selena and Demi. They got their start on that show.
Yeah.
People forget. Okay. Speaking of animals, let's take a look at all them chickens. So, if you've ever well, first of all, the first person to find this out owes us an explanation. Or 2, or 300. Because I don't know how the people have this time to figure this out, but this is awesome. If you ever want to hypnotize a chicken, you draw a line on the ground with a stick or your finger, hold the chicken's head near it, and it can be hypnotized for up to 30 minutes. What did you get? You guys saw these videos? What did you think?
I did say, it was hard to believe when I read about it, but seeing the videos, it's obvious there's something behind it. I'm really curious if there are more animals that we can that have the same ability, because the immobility that the chicken experiences is quite riveting.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting. It makes me wonder if it's just a defense mechanism that's built into the chicken that, I don't know, something happens when they see the chalk in front of them, their body just shuts down, or...
I mean, from my outer research, I did find that tonic immobility was suggested by some animal doctors, which is basically them playing dead when they're presented with a threat. So essentially, it's the chicken acting chicken.
Pretty much.
It's a chicken playing possum.
Yeah. What is interesting is that, for years we've heard about how dumb chickens are. But chickens have a little bit of chicken intelligence, if you will, built up on them.
Yes.
Lori Marino, a professor of neuroscience and behavioral biology at Emory University, found that they can remember the trajectory route of a hidden ball for up to 180 seconds if they see it moving, and up to a minute if the ball is invisible to them. Or if the displacement ball, is invisible to them. 5-day-old domestic chicks were presented with 2 sets of objects disappearing behind 2 screens of different quantities, and they could track which one hid the larger number by doing addition and subtraction. Which I must admit I'm a little skeptical on that finding. Essentially, they just did remember the thing at baseball games, the where did the baseball go on the big screen. But they do have a lot of different vocalizations to communicate, like 24 different ones. But
Wow.
do you guys think? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, what do you guys think about chickens? Do we treat chickens fairly?
I don't think we do.
I mean, I feel like we just breed them to eat them and eat their products.
They're tasty, all right.
Yeah.
They're very good. Yes, chicken McNuggets, underrated. I would say we definitely are at a situation where we're just mass breeding for food production.
Yeah.
But with information like this, it makes you wonder if we don't give chickens enough respect. Like, are they conscient beings that can? I don't know.
I mean, our chicken is the Rodney Dangerfield of the animal world. Like, I don't know.
It's a conversation that gets probably deeper than this, but that's interesting to think about.
This might be for another time, but I did see that there have been findings of empathy in chickens.
Really?
I'm not sure.
It looks like there's more than one way also that has been proven to.
I saw that there's a couple methods.
Yeah, a couple different
Give
methods.
us some of the other ones.
So according to this Wikipedia page, one technique of hypnosis is to hold the chicken face up with its back on the ground, and then you run a finger downwards from the chicken's wattles to just above its vent. I'm not.
The waddle, I believe, isn't that the gobbler?
I'm not sure what the vent refers to. But it says the chicken's feet are exposed, which allows easy application of medication for foot mites. So it's just a way to keep them still to apply medication.
Interesting.
This one seems a little less practical, no medical value. But holding the chicken in your arms, placing its head under the wing, then gently rocking it back and forth for 30 seconds and setting it carefully, keyword on the ground, it will stay in the same position for about 30 seconds.
See, okay, when you're placing on your, like, some of these videos, too, people have, like, a death grip on the chicken's head. It almost made me wonder if they're just suffocating the thing.
Potentially.
This looks like former U.S. Vice President Al Gore had his own method.
I was going to bring that up.
Of hypnotizing chickens, I guess. So apparently he would just draw circles around a chicken's head. I'm not really entirely sure how you would do that, but...
I mean, Al Gore could hypnotize anyone to sleep just with the sound of his voice.
Yeah.
I am Al Gore. Nobody takes me cereal. I've seen the man pear pig.
South Park reference.
Oh, classic. Werner Herzog, the German filmmaker, is another person who apparently loved to hypnotize chickens. He directed Grizzly Man, if you guys know that movie. That's what he's most well known for to American casual film audiences.
Looks like he also hypnotized the cast of his 1976 film Heart of Glass.
Interesting. I did see the record for a hypnotized chicken was 3 hours and 47 minutes, and yes, I did the math, and that is 2.5 sittings of Chicken Run, the movie with Mel Gibson.
That's, I mean, if you really want to get the chickens informed,
Yeah.
we now have a way to get them to watch Chicken Run.
And I did go down the rabbit hole a lot in this one. I don't know if you guys got as far as I did. So the U.S. military, when trying to avoid disclose, I promise this will tie back. I know you probably heard U.S. military and think, whoa, weren't we just talking about chickens? But when trying to avoid disclosing sensitive information with reporters, they'll give 25 minutes of the most boring PowerPoint they can put together. You know, bullet points, no transitions, none of that jazz. And give 5 minutes left at the end to ask questions to anyone who's still awake. And they refer to this process as hypnotizing chickens.
Love it. Great, I gotta pull one of those in my presentations in class.
So the only thing standing in between us and, like the entire invasion of Iraq was a PowerPoint was many PowerPoint presentations.
What works, works.
I did see Lieutenant Sam Nuxo of a platoon in Iraq told reporters he spent most of his time making PowerPoints. And he had to clarify that he was not joking.
Interesting. I mean, I would not, if I were to be in the military and was told that I needed to make a bunch of PowerPoints, that would probably be the last thing I would expect.
Exactly. I mean, I would just quit and work an office job at that point.
Yeah. Is that part of the application? Do you need to know how to use PowerPoint and Excel and other Microsoft applications? Quite possibly.
Don't forget Word too.
Word's important. Yeah.
Word. What even are the other ones?
OneNote. OneNote's big.
Oh yeah.
He's a big OneNote fan. That's really all I can think of. Excel, yeah.
So before I move on, let me ask you. You guys pitch me right now. Make the most boring PowerPoint you possibly can. Give me 3 things you'd include.
Most boring PowerPoint things we could include. I don't know. The PowerPoint from my accounting lecture earlier might take the cake on that one.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I don't think we have to make them. I think I could just take a comm presentation and...
Wait, you're a comm major?
I'm not, but I believe I could take one of a comm major's presentation.
Probably.
And let it run.
If you've been to a comm class before, comm is when you're communicating to the public. You're sending the message to the receiver. That's basically, that sentence alone was pretty much every introductory comm course you could ever take.
Sounds about right.
Yeah? What's up?
I was just going to say, I was in a comm course introductory last semester, and that's pretty much exactly what it was right there.
Pretty accurate. If I want to make the most boring PowerPoint presentation, I'd fill it with Michael Bublé's songs. That's what I would do.
Oh, don't disrespect Bublé. He's got some great songs.
Fly Me to the Moon, the cover by Michael Bublé, great song.
It doesn't got to hold a candle to Frankie.
He's the king of Christmas music.
Not the Carpenters?
I don't know.
Kenny G has a great saxophone.
Oh, gross.
Great saxophone covers of Christmas songs.
I think the G in Kenny G stands for gross.
Kenny Gross.
I think it stands for Kenny Greatness.
Kenny, okay, that was pretty good.
Kenny Goat.
Well, don't be a chicken, and I wish these chickens good luck with not being hypnotized, but we do have to move on. Let's hear something you were actually talking about you know, you ever just wake up and realize you can speak fluent Chinese? Well, then you might have foreign accent syndrome.
Yeah, you asked us to research some of our own interesting Wikipedia articles before coming in, and this is one I found. I've heard of it before, but I didn't know much about it. But I guess there's a super rare condition where some people will have a stroke, and then they'll just wake up speaking in the accent or dialect of somewhere they've never been in their life. So there's this one video I saw of a British woman who's never left her hometown in England, and one day she has a stroke, wakes up the next day, and she's speaking in a Chinese accent.
Okay.
And it's unexplainable. People don't really know where it comes from, but this thing is pretty interesting.
Can you tell me what year did this happen? And you said England.
It was in England. I can try to find the year.
It looks like it's more prevalent in women than it is men as well. So I wonder if that's, it says more commonly pronounced in females than it is men. An analysis of 112 patients. 97% were adults, 67% female.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
So it ties back to the diarrhea we were talking about earlier. Like there's differences between gender.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There could definitely be something there. It's also going off foreign accent syndrome. There's a separate scenario that could happen that I'm not sure how medically involved this is with foreign accent syndrome, but there's another situation where people wake up speaking foreign languages that they've never spoken before.
Okay, yeah, that's what, and you were describing an accent, so that's the language you were
Yeah, I think that's a lot less common. I don't have as much information on that, but I have definitely heard and seen videos of that happening. Who knows the legitimacy behind them, but definitely still interesting.
Yeah.
So someone will just wake up and be fluent in a language they've never spoken before.
I believe there was an incident in the U.S. where someone woke up after severe head trauma speaking fluent Spanish, and they have never taken a Spanish course in their life.
Was it a coma that did they fall into a coma?
I think it's happened with several different situations, such as comas and just severe head trauma.
Okay.
So I think the majority of them, from what I saw at least, would probably be comas.
I mean, I can't imagine, imagine just waking up one day and being able to being 50% more attractive to half the world because you can speak a different language. I think that's awesome.
So what I'm wondering is, does the person lose their original language? Can they now only speak the new language, or?
That's a good question. Like an amnesia type of deal?
Yeah.
We have one source. When people wake up speaking different languages, the brain is simply readjusting and rebranding itself after suffering a severe trauma. Lindsay Nichols of Macquarie University, damage that's caused in a certain part of the brain that controls the muscles used to pronounce speech can have an effect on this.
So what confuses me is when you said the brain readjusting itself, I would think that would mean, you're trying to relearn English, like you're speaking broken English, or you're stuttering, or, something like that. But the foreign language part makes no, I mean, not knocking it, I'm sure it's real, I wish it, as soon as this show's over, you two are going to take me out back and take some baseball bats, go to town on my head, I'll be fluent in Spanish by tomorrow, hopefully. I'm counting on you, Wikipedia, for this.
Duolingo has nothing on you.
Duolingo. That owl won't get off my butt, so I think it's freaking me out.
Yeah, we have a 16-year-old high school sophomore ended up in a coma after another player kicked him in the head during a game.
Was this a football game?
I believe so, or soccer, one of the two. But woke up speaking a language he had never spoken before, Spanish. His parents said he could speak some Spanish, but he was never fluent. After a while, slowly his English came back and he lost his Spanish fluency.
Okay. And how long did it take for him to get rid of the Spanish fluency?
No specification on that. It only says slowly his English is coming back. But yeah, that's how is he suddenly speaking fluent Spanish? Very interesting.
Let me ask you guys this. If this happened to you, what language would you want?
I'd be Spanish. I feel like I wouldn't be Spanish. I would speak Spanish, but I just feel like that'd be most applicable considering where we live. I just feel like it'd be the most useful language to know.
I would have to agree, Spanish definitely most applicable, but Italian, I would love to visit some parts of Italy. I feel like that could be very useful. I don't know.
It's a language of love.
It is.
Actually, that's French.
I think they're all love languages.
I was gonna say, yeah, they all want to tell themselves. It's just like how every state in the Midwest says it's the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln. Like, I swear, Illinois has that sign. Kentucky has that sign.
I've seen Indiana.
Indiana has it. I'm pretty sure Ohio has it when you enter. I could be wrong on that, but
Everybody claims Lincoln.
everyone does, including Lincoln, Nebraska.
Wow. How'd they get away with that one?
Amazing to me. I would probably be German. Because you know what? I want to assert my dominance. German is the angriest language to learn. And no matter what I say, Guten Morgen! All I said there was good morning. Everyone listening got scared for a second.
I got a little scared.
Yeah, you should have, yeah. That's right.
It is a very aggressive language.
Well, speaking of Germany, let's talk about... Barney is not the most evil person we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about someone you probably know unless you failed 4th grade history. Adolf Hitler. And here's one thing you don't know about him. What kind of food he ate? This man abstained from meat entirely. That's right. He was no different from that annoying vegetarian in your sociology class that won't ever shut up about it. And he truly was. Adolf Hitler was the type of guy who Adolf Hitler would often tell graphic descriptions of animals being slaughtered at slaughterhouses to annoy and dissuade his guests from eating meat at dinner parties.
So he was a pretty passionate vegetarian too.
Very
Like,
passionate.
he would get in your face if you were eating meat with
Yep.
him.
He was that kind of vegetarian. What is interesting is that his dietitian and people who cooked his foods, his dietitian would often add bone marrow to his vegetable soups. So he technically wasn't a full vegetarian.
Was it against his knowledge that the dietitian would do this?
He never found that. He oftentimes, when other people tried to do it, I believe a female chef of his, I forgot to write down, but he would notice the deception and he would call it out. It typically wouldn't stop them from doing it, but he would notice it. But he never noticed the bone marrow.
That's very interesting. It says, New York Times noted in a 1937 article that it is well known that Hitler is a vegetarian as well as does not smoke or drink.
I noticed that too. He detailed all this on basically his more warped and disgusting version of FDR's fireside chat, Hitler's Table Talk, which I hate to say this, but if he was still alive, you know that'd be the name of his podcast if he had one.
100%. I dug into the rabbit hole on this one.
I did as well.
I found an interesting link that I've no clue the relevance to this, but Savitri Devi. She was a Nazi sympathizer and a spy who worked with the Axis powers during World War II.
Okay.
And fun fact, she's vegetarian as well. So not sure if there was any link between that, if she had any persuasion towards Hitler working with him. But yeah, World War II, she was connected to the Axis powers, and apparently had connections with Hitler, and was a very devout vegetarian as well.
Well, I do know that Hitler did not become a vegetarian until after the suicide of his niece, Jelly Rubal, in 1931. I don't know if it was immediately afterwards.
This, according to Wikipedia, says he consumed meat as late as 1937.
Okay.
Which would make him 48 years old at the time.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to see if there was like an event that happened in his life, the suicide, like you said, or if it was something else. But I wonder if there was an event that caused him to change his mindset.
It's hard to even, it is hard to navigate hard to navigate parts of this article because it almost seems like in certain parts it was humanizing the most evil man in history. Like I don't want to think that he has like this like nice little soft side because he does, he didn't. But and what's funny is that he seems like a total loser, or he ended up being a total loser. He would cover his eyes when animals were killed in the movie and would beg to be told when the scene was over.
It's quite interesting. He's quite devout to it then.
Yeah.
That does not sound like Hitler.
Yeah, it sounds like the type of guy. It sounds like Hitler would also be the type of guy to close the fridge door with his hips. The type of guy to ride in the back of the motorcycle while his girlfriend rides up front. Yeah, he sounds like the type of guy to say "cha cha cha" while singing "Happy Birthday."
Drake-like tendencies.
I've got plenty. Yeah, if you were with me all those weekends, you're probably tuning out right now because you're tired of me making these jokes. But there's so many of them.
So many.
And to get off topic for a bit, I want to see the opposites. I want to see Eminem is the type of fella jokes. If you know what, like, Eminem is the type of fella to say, as long as you're happy, bro, and you show him a picture of your girl.
Works, yeah. I think we could definitely add a whole new level of
the Eminem jokes would go completely 180 degrees from the Drake jokes. I feel like
Yeah,
it would just be completely opposite.
Yeah, that'd be the point. Because the whole Drake jokes, it's, mocking how corny. It ended up, it first, made fun of Drake's, less masculine qualities, and then it kind of evolved into how much of a corny cartoon character Drake is. Like, Drake is the type of guy to start floating towards the smell of a pie through a window. Which if I could physically do that, I probably would too, as long as it's Boston cream.
How do you think Drake is handling all these memes? His reputation's kind of being trashed already.
I'm sure he's not liking it. But he only has himself to blame by making way too sexy.
I mean, I heard
true.
sometimes he laughs and sometimes he cries, so.
I guess we know now.
Yeah, we know.
He'd be the type, if he was ever mad at you, he wouldn't tell you why, is the thing. Like, he's that type of guy.
Definitely not.
But it's okay. He'll bake us cupcakes to apologize later.
That'd be great.
That would be great. Last thing on Hitler. What is interesting to note is that the Nazi Party did crack down on animal rights pretty hard during the regime. They banned scenes like that in movies.
Interesting.
And in the book Animal Scam, The Beastly Abuse of Human Rights, it says that a fisherman was once sent to a concentration camp for cutting up a frog and using it as bait. Which, my big takeaway from that is, who uses a frog as bait for fish? Can fish even swallow a frog?
I guess we cut it up.
Suppose.
It looks like Hitler had his own German Shepherd, a gift as a puppy, that he even kept it once he moved to an underground bunker.
Yeah, and his taste tester, the only one to survive World War II, Margot Volk, was never actually saw Hitler, but she would always see his German Shepherd playing. Pretty fitting they had a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Be like, like an American president having like an American Eagle as a gun.
That'd be awesome.
Or not a Desert Eagle's a gun. What am I talking about? American Eagle is a store that no one's been into since 2008.
That hurts. I have an American Eagle boxers on.
Ooh.
Yeah, gotta change that up.
It's alright. Interesting enough too, Hitler also loved pea and bean soup, but avoided them due to flatulence. So.
Interesting. And as Danny mentioned earlier, they did an autopsy of some sort on his skull and did not find any
meat
in his enamel of his teeth.
That's funny.
Or tartar of his teeth, if you will.
When was that conducted?
2017.
Oh, okay.
By French scientists.
Nice.
Which begs the question, I thought that they never found Hitler's body.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, like I said too before the show, like, I would imagine they'd want to. Hitler's a guy, like, there's still so much we don't know about. There's still so much historians don't know about him, and maybe for the better. But it's somebody we want to study to make sure that that never happens again. That somebody like that never comes to power anywhere in the world again. Obviously, people like that have, unfortunately, but yeah.
That's why we're here, to take over the O'Donnell factor.
Of course. Wait. Are you calling me a Nazi right now?
No, I'm not. So I'm saying you are the new man, the new king.
Let's not go. Let's not say king. Well, I'll take king. Queen is more accurate, though. I always slay at queen. So moving on from Hitler, let's go to another country in Europe. Let's go to Scotland. You had an interesting article.
I did. This is one of my favorite articles. There is a family called, Sawney Bean is the leader of the family. Alexander Sawney Bean. He was the head of a 45-member clan in Scotland in the 16th century. This is one of my favorite stories, actually. Learned this in one of my classes. I think it was psychology in high school. But a pretty interesting guy. Leader of a 45-member clan, incestual family. That was all the clan, actually. And
that was the norm back then.
It was, especially for Scotland.
Yeah.
But he went out, basically, so the whole family lived in a cave that right along the ocean. So the ocean would come up, the cave was set up in a way that you'd walk into the cave and you'd have to go up onto almost a platform sort of area. So the water would come up during the day, the tide would come in and cover the entrance of the cave, so you couldn't see in. It just looked like just a rock. But at night, the water would recede back into the ocean as the tide went out, and the family would come out, and basically they have been reported to have murdered and cannibalized over 1,000 people in their 25-year span.
1,000 people, you said?
1,000 people, over 1,000, reportedly. But according to the legend, they were eventually caught by a search party sent by King James.
Okay.
And looks like they had a pretty good thing, or good is a strong word.
Yeah.
A pretty interesting thing going for 25 years. Body parts and disappearance didn't go unnoticed, though, by local villagers, because I guess what they would do is they'd take the bodies out of the cave once they were done dismantling them, and throw them into the ocean, and they would come back up on shore, and it would look like either a fishing incident
or like an animal guy.
An animal
okay,
or
I did
something,
see
yeah.
that.
So, I mean, they stayed in their cave all day and took their victims at night. Shout out Sonny Bean. If anyone in the Bean family is alive and listening, which I know you are, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear this.
Is Mr. Bean related, can I ask?
Quite possibly.
Maybe.
Quite possibly.
The dude could kill anyone just by making him laugh.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that dude is
easily. Great guy.
great guy.
So were they hunting these people like as the main source of food, or just were they vicious people they killed for no reason?
I believe Sonny Bean was a vicious man, the leader of the clan, but I think after some time, 25 years of incestual actions, I would believe there was definitely some mental issues going on.
I was gonna say, yeah, clearly, like, because back then royalty were engaging in, you know, Queen Victoria, King Albert of England. You know, that whole family was incestual. That entire bloodline was, you know, back then they didn't know any better. Just they kept it in the family. But yeah, the cannibalism is the cannibalism is clearly the part that was stigmatized back then. But obviously, it all should be. But what I thought was interesting was that I thought I read that there was no evidence of missing persons throughout the case, or no, it was not reported by Scottish newspapers.
I believe that's correct. I don't think there was ever anything reported, but I would believe that all the remains coming up on the ocean 25 years of that would lead some curiosity. Apparently they were captured without a fight, though.
They pretty much trapped themselves inside this cave, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how much of a fight you can put up, but
I thought I saw one theory says that villagers put gunpowder down in the cave and made them suffocate. Was their eventual collapse?
there's definitely a bunch of theories. I don't think there's a concrete answer to whatever happened, but King James of Scotland apparently sent out a search party, and whatever they did, search team with reportedly 400 men and several bloodhounds.
Nope.
So sounds like it was a pretty big deal for Scotland at that time.
It was not Crip Hounds?
No, unfortunately not. Bloodhounds.
Well, at least they got the job done. At least they caught
Got it
these.
done. Shawnee
At least
Bean
these.
no more.
At least they caught these 6 son of a guns.
Yeah.
I did see that a reason why the legend has a little bit of skepticism surrounding it is because there was a big Scottish or anti-Scottish sentiment at the time stemming from the Jacobite revolutions.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, it's anti-Scottish. Pretty much could have been a propaganda against Scotland.
And that ties back to a lot of the stories we were telling earlier about Hitler. You can't convince me that some of those aren't propaganda.
Oh,
Like
certainly.
Because I know they would take pictures of him, you know, feeding animals and say like the Fuhrer loves animals and stuff like that.
Almost a North Korea kind of thing where they.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, I mean they'll pretty much force if you're that much power over a country, you can pretty much force anything you want into your audience.
I mean, you remember that scene in the interview where it basically insinuates that the people of North Korea don't believe that Kim Jong-un poops or pees because he doesn't have bowels. They believe that.
There is actually another thing that they believe. It was reported to everyone in North Korea, all the citizens of North Korea, that Kim Jong-un's first time golfing, his score was 18. He got a hole-in-one his first time golfing, which I don't think that's ever been done.
He got a hole in one on every hole, you're saying.
Every hole, and his first time
Sounds
golfing.
believable
And
to me.
apparently, the North Koreans love it. They think he's just a golf god. Bryson DeChambeau, who? I'm not sure. Kim
They
Jong-un
also
is-
believe he can control the weather. I saw that the other day.
That's awesome.
With his
That'd be
angry
pretty
it
cool.
rains, etc.
It's not just the people of North Korea, it's the people of North Korea and Dennis Rodman.
That's true, yeah.
And Dennis Rodman.
Happy birthday to you. I love how, you know, he realizes how off key he is, so he just starts clapping instead of continuing to sing. So moving on from the Shawnee Bean family, speaking of singing off key, let's travel all the way to South America. This will be our last topic to round out the Wikipedia special, which may become a reoccurring thing on the O'Donnell Factor. This was, you know, we went all around the smorgasbord. We had a good time. We talked about purple dinosaurs, evil fascists, foreign languages. Oh my, you know.
Love it.
Love it.
Knowledge for the people.
Indeed. Let's spit some knowledge on the My Way killings. So, Ronan Farrow's real daddy, Frank Sinatra, released his signature hit in 1969, My Way, which, interesting, one of the most interesting things I found was that actually charted pretty low. It was only 27 was its peak position.
For how notorious of a song it is, I would have guessed higher.
Exactly. So, newspapers have reported, including Reuters and the New York Times, from the span of 2002 to 2012, there have been at least a dozen instances of people killing people in the Philippines at karaoke bars over renditions of Frank Sinatra's My Way. Whether it be hogging the microphone, singing off key, a violation of karaoke etiquette, which, before we even get into these details, what do you guys think of karaoke in general?
I enjoy karaoke. I think it's fun, but as I read this Wikipedia page, it seems like it's a way bigger deal in the Philippines than it is here. It seems like they take it pretty seriously, and obviously they'll kill you if you do something wrong.
Yeah.
Karaoke's fun. It gets old after a while though. I think it's only a part of the night type thing. It can't be an all night thing.
I think karaoke is one of the worst things that's ever been created. I'll go completely 180 on this. I'm sorry, but it basically, whenever somebody gets up and does karaoke, what are they saying? I'm an alcoholic and I want attention.
It's very true.
Everyone in their head thinks they're so good, but they're singing off key. And, you got people screaming along the lyrics with them, and even though they're not supposed to be the ones singing. It's a mess. It's who can out-attention grab each other.
That's fair. Very fair take. And quite honestly, with a song as popular as My Way by Frank Sinatra, I really don't want to hear anyone sing it other than Frank Sinatra.
Exactly. Or Elvis Presley. He did a great rendition of it.
Very true.
So, yeah, this all led to a bill being filed by Congress in the Philippines proposing a curfew on karaoke. Do you think this would stop these killings?
I mean, if people are passionate about this song enough to the point they would kill someone over it, I don't know that a law being passed would... If they're going to kill somebody anyway, I don't know if a law specifically about this song is going to stop them from killing somebody in the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to do much. I mean, it's worth a shot, but there's really no harm, no foul on that, passing a law against that. I guess if you really want to break the law, you just got to do it at home. But even more interesting, it looks like there's not even an explanation for any of these incidents.
Well, I was going to get into that. Aside from the song itself, there's two different theories behind it, and I want to analyze both of them. Some people suggest that it's the song's lyrics itself. It's a whole, basically a song about, look at what I've done, all my accomplishments. I did it, It's why it's so popular at funerals. It's, I live my life my way. I ate it up or I spit it up and chewed it out. I gotta listen to that song again, because I do like that song. I don't know why the lyrics aren't coming to me right now. But, it's a song about, it's a bravado, macho song, which, that could be a theory. I don't know. What do you guys think about that theory?
Definitely. I think there's definitely, especially after a few drinks, I could see someone being very influenced by the lyrics of the song.
Yeah.
I have the lyrics pulled up here, the very first bar.
Have you heard the song, I want to ask?
I have.
Okay. I was going to say, you got a homework assignment after this.
But the first few lines of the song, and now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear, I'll state my case of which I'm certain.
Yeah.
Just even the first four lines right there just sounds like pretty ominous. I don't know if that inspires people, but...
It always confused me. I always thought when I was a little bit younger that it was like a song it was like Frank Sinatra's last song ever, and he kind of knew it, like Hurt by Johnny Cash's rendition of Hurt by 9 Inch Nails. But Frank Sinatra didn't die until like another 30 years later. So that always kind of confused me. Which, fun fact for you, going off the rails a little bit here, Frank Sinatra died on the night of the series finale of Seinfeld, and ambulances got him to the hospital in record time due to light traffic, because everyone was at home watching the show. That's how big of a culture icon Seinfeld was at the time. Maybe not as big as Barney, but people love Seinfeld. The other theory is that, just the culture in the Philippines, heavy...
Definitely known to be very dangerous. Very high risk for mugging, murder, pretty much terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, anything really. Philippines, I feel like, is pretty known to be a risky place to travel if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah. What would you have to add to that?
No, I'm not sure. It could be a cultural thing. But, I don't know that much about Filipino culture, so I
Yeah.
don't know what I could say about that.
I think it's funny how unrealistically movies and TV portray karaoke. Like, first of all, people go to karaoke bars sober, or like karaoke joints. Like, no one's doing that. You're not gonna get discovered by some record. I'm just thinking of all those Nickelodeon shows like Victorious, right? Like hotshot music agents aren't sitting around at karaoke bars looking for the next big thing.
True.
Definitely true.
I don't think a 16-year-old is gonna want to spend their fun on a Friday night at a karaoke bar either. I think they've got a lot more. I would hope they've got a lot more fun things to do. I didn't when I was that age, but.
It's very fair. I wonder what is the drinking age in the Philippines?
Oh.
Does that have something to do
That
with?
could totally be.
So maybe it's younger incidents, people who are just getting too rowdy, perhaps.
Well, what is interesting is that the article itself lists other instances of this happening. There's one in Seattle, Washington, over the song "Yellow" by Coldplay, which I'd like to add. That's totally justified. That song blows.
Horrible song.
Oh, I kind of like that song.
Coldplay? You mean bargain brand Radiohead?
Whatever.
Hey mom, can we have Radiohead? Oh, we have Radiohead at home.
It's Coldplay.
Yeah. What is interesting is that pretty much every other instance listed of it was in Asia. There was one in Thailand, one in Malaysia, one in China that involved a meat cleaver.
So that leads you to think it is a cultural thing.
But not just in the Philippines, but in all of Asia.
True.
So they take. I wonder if they take karaoke seriously all across Asia.
It says the Philippines drinking age is 18, so like Eric was
Okay.
saying, there could be something to that, where it's just younger kids under the influence making stupid decisions,
Yeah, frontal cortex not fully developed till 23, 24, so
allegedly.
allegedly.
Perhaps. One thing I would add back to the song itself. In an interview by BBC in 2000, so 2 years after Frank's death, she said that her father hated My Way. She said he didn't like it. He quote word for word, he always thought it was self-serving and indulgent.
And this is Frank saying that?
His daughter saying that about Frank. So, but I would think and hope she'd know more than any of us would about his feelings on the song. And that makes sense, plenty of artists hate their most popular song.
Definitely.
Plenty
I feel
of
like that's a pretty common thing.
No different than actors hating their most famous role. Like Harrison Ford hates Han Solo.
Really?
He begged to be killed off in The Force Awakens.
Wow.
I can name many instances. Christopher Plummer hates The Sound of Music. Alec Guinness also hates. He was Obi-Wan Kenobi, famous British actor. Not known to younger audiences really, aside from Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he was also in Bridge of the River Kwai. But he hated Obi-Wan Kenobi. He refused to even promote, or he would talk bad about A New Hope in interviews.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to ask, why do you think the reason is that so many artists hate their most iconic or the role that brought them fame?
I know it's a big thing. I've seen interviews with Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker.
Yeah.
I know he's a very, or at least reportedly a very introverted guy who does not like the spotlight.
Well, yeah.
But happens to be very good at acting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could potentially be part of it, just not wanting the attention.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to do with it. Obviously, I have no room to speak on that since I am not in the spotlight, but who knows? I feel like that could definitely be an anxiety thing, potentially.
Yeah.
It could also be just that if it's an actor, for example, or even a musician, that they just feel as if they sold out for commercial success, and they feel like some of their more deeper cuts are more in tune with their artistic value.
Yeah. Like you're saying the rest of their work's getting overshadowed?
Yeah, I'm just saying like Robert Downey Jr., you obviously know him from Iron Man.
Well, I know him from Tropic Thunder.
Well, but I would say the thing he's most known for is Iron Man.
Yeah.
Maybe he just, and obviously the Avengers is a huge franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe he feels like his character in that has just been sold out for commercial success.
Yeah.
Where he's been able to do more with lesser known characters as an actor.
That's a really good point. I would say part of it's tying back to anxieties. Sometimes people just don't like. It's like, I hate to hear the sound of my own voice. Sometimes I'll lay down my persona for a little bit. Just like actors hate to watch themselves on screen, and a lot of artists only listen to their own songs unless their name is Kanye West. Because it's also the fact that you've been doing it for so. You're filming a movie for 6-7 hours a day for 2 months straight. You get sick of. You don't even want to see the final product, but. Do you guys have any other takeaways before because we are about out of time?
I'm good.
Not quite. Thank you for your hospitality today.
Of course. You guys were very good. And, the record shows we took the blows and we did it our way on this Wikipedia specialty O'Donnell Factor. We are not live streaming on Instagram right now because of issues with the app. Thanks Instagram. But we will be back next week and we will get this video on the gram to all you O'Donnellholics out there. And just remember, I'm Ryan O'Donnell and you're not. Keep it classy, Dayton.
Solid.
That was really
Solid
good.
work.
Well done, guys.
That was awesome.
You took the cake for that.
That
that
flew by.
No, I was gonna say, did I talk too much?
No, yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think
you
so. I don't
you
think
saved
so.
me a few times when I didn't know what to
Me
say.
too. I was
Yeah.
kind of trailing a little bit.
Yeah.